Good morning. This morning I'm going to continue reading Magic Treehouse, book number 22, Revolutionary War on Wednesday, and we're in chapter 6, Crossing the Delaware. The huge boat rocked in the water. Giant chunks of ice smashed against its sides. "Thanks a lot, Annie," Jack whispered. He shivered in the snowy cold. "We're not supposed to go on their secret mission with them." "It's okay," she whispered. "Maybe we can help George Washington." "Are you nuts?" Jack whispered. "We should be on our way home now." The boat hit a piece of ice. The boat bounced, then dipped into the river. Jack clung to the wooden side. He hoped they wouldn't turn over. Nobody could survive in this icy water, he thought. It would be like sinking in the Titanic. The crew fought hard to keep the boat moving forward. They rowed past chunks of ice into a smoother part of the river. Light from oil lamps shone on the water, making the ice chunks behind them glow like huge glittering jewels. Jack looked back. Other boats were following them. They were filled with soldiers, horses, and cannons. "Where exactly are we going?" Annie whispered. Jack shrugged. He reached into his bag and pulled out their Revolutionary War book. By the dim lantern light in the boat, he searched through the book. He found a painting of General Washington crossing the Delaware River. It's a picture of them in the boat. He showed the painting to Annie. They each read the caption silently. After George Washington crossed the Delaware, he led his men on a 9-mile march to a British post. The post was filled with Hessians, German soldiers hired by the British to fight for them. The American patriots caught them off guard. The Hessians never thought the patriots would attack on a stormy Christmas night. It was a great victory for the patriots. They captured almost 1,000 Hessians. Hardly any of Washington's men were lost. "Yay! We won't have to send the captain's letter," Annie exclaimed. "Shh," said Jack. But George Washington turned around and looked back at Jack and Annie. "Oh no," Jack thought. "Caught again." He closed his eyes as if it would make him invisible. "He's coming," said Annie. Jack looked up. George Washington was making his way back towards them. In the next moment, the commander-in-chief loomed above them like a giant shadow. "Children?" he said in a quiet, angry voice. "Sorry," Jack squeaked. "Merry Christmas," said Annie. But George Washington did not say Merry Christmas back. Chapter 7, Spies. "What are you doing here?" George Washington asked. The commander-in-chief sounded furious. "We made a mistake," Jack said. We didn't mean to come." George Washington turned to the rowers. "Who let these children sneak aboard?" he asked in a stern voice. The men looked at Jack and Annie with surprise. "It's not their fault," Annie said quickly. "They were working too hard to notice us." Just then the boat banged against the ice. The ice cracked. The boat moved on, then bumped against the shore. 2 soldiers jumped out and pulled the boat up on the shore. George Washington looked at Jack and Annie. "This boat is returning to get more men," he said. "When it does, you 2 will get out and stay on the other shore." "Yes, sir," said Jack. He felt very embarrassed. George Washington then gave orders to the rowers. "Make sure these children do not board any other boats when they return," he said. The general stepped onto the riverbank. The wind started to pick up. The snow fell harder. As the crew unloaded the boat, neither Jack nor Annie spoke. Jack was miserable. They had caused trouble for George Washington just when the general was trying to make America an independent nation. Jack desperately wished he and Annie had gone home earlier. They watched more and more boats land on the riverbank. As the soldiers unloaded their weapons and horses, a freezing rain began. Now rain, snow, and sleet fell together. Jack heard George Washington call to one of his men. "This storm is getting worse, Major," the general said. "Yes, sir," the major said. "I think we're in for a blizzard," said Washington. "Yes, sir. Our mission may be hopeless, sir," said the major. "Should we call it off?" "No, you shouldn't," Jack whispered. "You're going to win." "Should we turn back, sir?" the major said. "No, no," said Annie. She stood up. The boat rocked. "Don't turn back, George Washington, sir," she shouted. You have to march on, sir. You have to attack the Hessians, sir. Shh. Jack tried to pull Annie back down. We're not supposed to know about their secret mission. How does she know our plans, Major? George Washington asked. Listen to us, sir, said Annie. You're going to win. She pulled away from Jack and jumped out of the boat. Annie! Jack leaped out onto the riverbank. He scrambled after Annie up the steep, icy slope. You have to lead your men, General Washington, sir, Annie said. The Hessians will be surprised. They think no army will be marching on a night like this. How do you know all of this? The major shouted above the storm. How do you know what the Hessians are doing and thinking? For once, Annie seemed at a loss of words. She just guessed, said Jack. Just then, the bearded soldier who had yelled at Jack earlier stepped forward. There's Jack and Annie talking to George Washington. They look a little bit scared. I saw this boy earlier, he said. He was writing things down. No, I was just... Now Jack was at a loss of words. Seize them, the major shouted. They're spies. I'm going to stop right there. The next chapter is These Are the Times. I can't wait to see what happens to Jack and Annie and George Washington. Miss you guys. Bye.